This is your time to reclaim and live out your impossible dream. And this episode is going to guide you with ways to support yourself to do just that. So let's get started.
Welcome to the I'm Perfectly Divine podcast, a place for the strong, sensitive, spiritual seeker to recognize the perfection of your human journey as a pathway to remembering soul worlds through proven and grounded frameworks that support you to live in the wholeness you already are. For over the past 2 decades, I have supported people from all around the world, as well as Fortune 500 companies, to dissolve the divisions within them and live with greater empowerment and love. This podcast is an exploration of the paradoxes that befuddle us as we live our lives being both human and divine. Together, you and I, along with other experts, will navigate integrating psychology and spirituality, the divine feminine and the divine masculine, the darkness and the light, to create greater sacred union from within. I believe through your remembering that you are innately divine, that you will allow yourself to more openly shine. So let's get to it, because your unique light is needed more than ever.
Hello and welcome back to I'm Perfectly Divine podcast. This is a time of celebration. Celebrating you, celebrating that the light is back, that there is a new path forward that's showing up, and the possibilities on that path because of the work that you have done to clear the way. So I know December was a lot about me sharing with you ways to clear and let go and release and let die what's meant to die so that you can move forward more powerfully, more aligned with your truth, love, and power. And so however you did that, it doesn't have to look like how I did it. And by the way, you can still do it if the holidays were still busy for you, you have kids, so on and so forth. Because yes, we have entered the light and we are still in a time where there's darkness as this light grows. So we still have time. And we really want to celebrate the work that you've done. And even if your ego won't acknowledge the work that you've done, you just showing up for these podcasts, listening, there's something changing in your consciousness that is opening you to receive all aspects of yourself with greater empowerment and love. And that's what this is all about. And so this is a time as light is born again, as light comes forward as a stronger presence again, that we acknowledge ourselves, anything and everything that we've done, the hard work, the inner listening, and the deep courage, that you show up by being willing to be self-reflective, by taking the time to tune in, again, whether it's through the podcast or being in silence or whatever way that came through for you. And so this is this time to recognize that you have grown so much throughout this year. And it's the growth that has taken place where others may not see it, but you feel something different in your heart. And so that's why we've been exploring not just clearing, but then accessing more of this love and the feeling states that you are ready to nurture now that the light is being reborn, that you're ready to nurture and really to support yourself, to dream the impossible dream. So this sounds wonderful, right? But how do we actually do that? How do we dream the impossible dream? Well, you have already been doing the inner work to do that, because what we're actually talking about is you dreaming, me dreaming, together us dreaming beyond the small self. And so what we've been laying to rest is the small self and the aspects that we are ready to let go of in order to birth this dream that is the impossible dream, to our ego, to our outdated self. But know that you have put to rest. That's what this past year was all about. You putting to rest things that could not carry forward with you as you live out dreaming the impossible dream. And so we're going to dream it, and then we're going to live it. And so it's really being able to recognize and again acknowledge. We're in this place of light, of celebration, of acknowledging the ways, the patterns of behavior, the identities that you have outgrown and have changed you as you've laid them to rest to who you are today. Now, who you are today may not yet be that version of the impossible dream. This year has been a year of endings so that we can step into the version of you that will hold this dream. And so you have done the work of clearing the container so you can hold more of the dream, of the love and the power and truth that you are, to be able to handle all the different aspects that come along with it. And that is powerful and profound and courageous work. So where we can amplify this energy is to continue to reflect, because again, we still are in a place of darkness that encourages us to go inward. It's not the intensity of release that I've been guiding you through. It's really gaining clarity that now that your heart has learned to see better in the darkness and clear away what needs to be cleared, how can I access more of the wisdom that is laid dormant in the darkness so I can reclaim that as I rise again? So these seeds that you have planted are now feeling the warmth of the light. And it's like, okay, let's break out of this seed. Let's do our thing. Let's follow our divine blueprint. And you can encourage that in ways that help you gain clarity. So one of the ways that I encourage you to do that is to ask yourself, who would you be without carrying forward the stories of your past self and really held the version of you that is living the impossible dream? So right there, it's the dichotomy that your ego or reality may say, well, it still feels impossible, right? Because of our external circumstances. But your heart now knows. That's why you've done the inner work in the darkness, because the knowing that comes in the dark can't be taken away from you, right? It's felt. You just know. And so it's like the darkness closes off the external, so we go internal to know what is true. And now it's okay, with my heart knowing what's possible. And what's possible as I really know and get to know more intimately the self, the sacred self that's holding and living out this dream. Because it's not the small self that's going to do this. And can you move beyond that chapter where the small self, where aspects of the small self ran the show, and move to the next chapter? Or maybe it was like, this was part 1 or 2 of a book series, and now you're in series 3 or 4. Like, we're closing the book, and now it's a new book that you are starting. So it could be a new chapter, a new book. It depends on how how powerfully this is coming through you. And either way, there's no right or wrong to that. It's just really recognizing, yes, there was something that I learned in those old chapters, in those old ways of being. And these new chapters require the heroine to come through. So it doesn't matter about gender when we go through the hero's journey and the heroine's journey, that we are bringing forward the aspects of our empowered masculine and our empowered feminine in a healthy, conscious way, so that they can live the impossible dream, what was once impossible to our small self. And so, and bringing them forward in union, in harmony, in balance. And so that's part of this, right? Because the old version may have done it very imbalanced, has tried to achieve that dream in very in ways that has felt impossible because of the imbalance. And your work in the darkness has been a course correction so that you don't have to repeat those patterns that made it imbalanced, that made it not work for your essence, for your being. And the divine loves you so much that it wants it to feel exuberant and expansive and like joy and just amazement that your soul gets to experience life in this way, this human form in this way. And really recognize, okay, that chapter's done, so how am I going to cast myself in this next year's experience, in this next chapter, in this next whole book that I am co-creating, that I am writing now, not just with my thoughts, but with my emotions, where I feel the power coursing through me, guiding me to remember the truth, love, and power of who I am. And so as we close that chapter of what's not possible according to this old version of self, we're closing that. It wasn't possible for them. And that's true. They didn't, that part of you did not have the container to hold what this new chapter, new version of you is going to hold. And from this place of turning the page, of rebirth, what do I really want? So this, if we're looking at a book and it's like in parts, right? And that chapter is closed, and then there's like this blank page before the next like part 3 or part 4. Like, isn't that interesting? There's like a blank page to say there is a defining segment here that's beyond a chapter. It's like a new part. Or again, the closing of a book, and then there's a new fresh page that's just blank. And that's where we're at right now, so that we can really get clear about the story, our storyline, and the sacred self that we are, that's meant to be reborn. The resurrected self that shines your light so uniquely you. That's where we're at. And so what do I really want? To get clear. Because now I am creating from a place where there's nothing within me that I need to prove. And that alone allows me to access the possibilities of my heart. And in the silence that we've gotten used to, in the darkness, we can access our heart in a way that empowers us, in a way that was too fearful to the smaller self. And now your heart has been cleared, and has cleared the way to access this growing light of possibility and potential that is yours. And this isn't to say that darkness won't try to creep its way back in. It's to say that you have learned the tools from these past chapters of how to address those doubts and fears differently. And if you don't, that you're committed to, if you don't know how in a moment, that you're committed to finding the skills that will support you because you are an empowered being, and because you're not meant to rewrite stories from the past. You're meant to create new ones. That's what's so special about this time. That's why at the end of the year, we celebrate what has transpired, what we have learned, and how we have grown. And it's something we should be amazed about within ourselves, be in awe, especially when it's not about the external, because that means that this internal growth, again, it can't be taken away from you. So this is a time of discernment with this blank page. What do I truly desire from my heart? And still having the darkness surrounding us so that it feels more easeful for us to go within. And it's not so scary anymore, right? Because you're accessing a part of your truth now. And this practice right now is continuing to choose your heart over what your head is telling you, over what others think of you. Others might have this character of who you are based on the past, and they have no idea that you're entering this blank page, or that you are totally recreating a new part to your story, a whole new book to your story. And so are you going to bring along what others say the storyline should look like moving forward based on who they knew you to be, versus who your heart knows at the most sacred part of your being, that this is who I am? And I write the story based off who I am, because I'm now so attuned to my heart to guide me. And whatever that degree of attunement is, that it's a blessing. And really knowing what is right for you. Because again, others may want to write your story based on their love for you, what they think is right, but they cannot intimately know your heart like you know your heart. And that's why this work is so courageous, because it requires you to do the inner clearing, to connect with yourself when there's so many ways to distract ourselves, and for you to ultimately then trust yourself. Before I start writing this next chapter, am I anchored in to my knowing? Am I going to take that next step forward with trust in how I continue to be divinely guided? Because I am an aspect of the divine. And the miracles and magic that can be created from this place within us. And this is anchoring into that sense of, what do you know? What do you know? Because when you say, I know, without a shadow of a doubt, the love that I am, the love I'm meant to bring forward, or whatever it is for you, then how can you consciously feed your inner knowing with the trust and faith that will allow this seed that's a part of your blueprint that's meant to grow right now to flourish? We want to nurture our inner knowing. And so clearly then, the opposite of nurturing our inner knowing is our doubts, and how we don't have to fight our doubts. We can just recognize to why they were an attachment to our past small self, and how they're really not necessary moving forward. They haven't really helped in any of the past chapters. You can clearly look back and see they didn't help. They kept you stuck. And your knowing self has nothing at all to lose by deepening your knowingness, because you know what is true for you and you trust and honor that. So we want to anchor this in. Again, the seed has been planted and now it's feeling the warmth of the light. So how will you support and encourage its growth? How will this be anchored in to your being? And we get to play with this, and we get to feel into the ways that support us. A daily practice, an affirmation, different affirmations, what helps us to remember and then live it so it becomes embodied. The magic of letting your heart take the lead over the mind or the ego is that it opens you to exactly that potential, the possibilities that your mind cannot comprehend. And for so many years, I've shared with you many times how my ego is always like, okay, it's time to get to work. It's time to, get behind the computer and do your thing. And you've got a podcast to make or whatever it is. And listening instead to my heart that says, nope, not the time, not yet. There's something I need to reinforce within myself. Something I might need to clear the way, something that I might need to nurture myself. Oftentimes it's either me my heart is calling me to go into inner reflection or nature rather than work. And let me tell you, each and every time, and it's been a lot of times now, I can't even express the magic that comes forward when I allow that. That's the opportunity for divine downloads. And there's nothing special about me that allows these divine downloads. It's available to all of us. It's available to you. But we've got to put our heart first, and it just hasn't been shown to us that doing so matters, that doing so isn't silly or a waste of time. And we have this blank page to anchor in how we want to move forward, how it's going to be different, and how it feels to trust our hearts, and how good it feels that we can move forward, not by pushing and proving and needing to do all this fighting to reach some sort of outcome or goal, that we can trust in our hearts to show us the way. And it actually feels so good, so replenishing, that we can allow that seed and its growth to effortlessly come forward. And so this is where we have to hold the both and, because a lot of times there's a great saying, we can do hard things. And it's true. And yet, do I want to have to constantly push myself in an unhealthy way to do something that my ego is telling me that I ought to do, versus the discernment of the harder thing to do sometimes is to listen to our heart, especially when we've got a million things to do. And so this is part of the discernment in that blank page. What is the harder thing for me to do? For me, it's always been trusting my heart. It's by doing less and trusting my heart and allowing that to flow. So we've got to be careful with these sayings. It's very true. We can do hard things. And who's the one doing it? Is it our heart, or is it our mind and our ego telling us that these are the things we got to do? And what is so exciting about how the divine wants to work through us is that it will be way beyond what the small self will guide us to do or to even think is possible. So this is what's so fun about it, living the impossible dream, because our hearts already have a notion of what that impossible dream is. And yet it's going to be even more impossible than your mind can wrap its head around. And that's the excitement about it. And what I'll say is that what comes next is usually both thrilling and an honor, and will terrify on some level the small self and the ego. And if we hold both of these, like, this is how we feel alive. This is how we are like, whoa, like I have said yes to this freaking adventure that I'm blessed to have called life. And we're like in. And it's so powerful. And so if you are ready to feel more alive in this upcoming year, then ask, what would both thrill me and feel like an honor to me, and maybe simultaneously scare the shit out of me? Because it's so outside my norm. It's so not what my old self, the part that I have given gratitude but have released, would do. That's what this blank page is offering us to sit with. Because what it means to be human is to hold both. Hold the thrilling adventure that our spirit wants to take us on, and the part that it scares the shit out of us. And we can hold both and say, yes, let's do this. And it will feel expansive to your essence and scary to your ego. And that's exactly how it should be, because the dying wolf cries the loudest, and you're saying, I hear you, ego. I know that you're scared, and I don't care, because I choose love. I choose my sacred self, even though it scares you, because the ego isn't really us anyways. So then ask for the guidance forward and continue to anchor into your vision, not in this clingy, it's got to turn out this way and look this way, but with softness to receive and nurture what is growing within you. And again, this can be the harder thing to do. But you get to write this next book, this next part, and it can be easeful for you. And people don't believe this because we've been so stuck in the old ascension model that is about pushing and forcing and making things happen. And look, I'm not saying you won't have grit, but that grit is going to come from your heart. And there's a big difference, because it'll be a fire that lights you up and lights the way. And it won't feel that heaviness, that torture feeling. And it'll push you to show up. And it's holding you to know that should you have those moments where you are being pushed forward into the light, that you're going to balance them with the softness, with the nurturance, because you need both. Because that's the only way to move forward in a healthy way that's sustainable, that feels good to you, where you have peace, where you have joy, and it flows easily from you. So I'm often guided by music to anchor in our spirit's remembrance. And with this episode, what came forward was the song, The Impossible Dream. And so my invitation to you is to take your impossible dream and to listen to your favorite rendition of the song, The Impossible Dream, whether that is Richard Kiley, Josh Groban. My favorite is Paul Potts, because I love it because of his story, which before winning Britain's Got Talent, he was a manager at a car phone warehouse, like in a middle age, in his middle ages. It wasn't like he was growing up in the music industry, and he won Britain's Got Talent, and it's changed his life to live the impossible dream. What was his small self working in a car phone warehouse could have never have dreamt him singing all around the world, and his gifts and talents being seen and expressed and received. And so that's why I choose Paul Potts' version, but I'm also going to share with you the lyrics and leave us with the lyrics so we can really soak them in. But perhaps for you, it's also having someone that brings forward the impossible dream for you, that connects for you, whether it's Paul Potts or Oprah Winfrey. Like, there are so many stories of people who have lived the impossible dream, and we want to reiterate that. We want to focus in on that, to remember that when our ego starts crying because it's dying, that we hold the truth within our hearts, and we are reminded, and this is the way we nurture that seed that's growing now, is by the remembrance that what my ego says is impossible, actually I have proof over here that it's not. I have people that were willing to have the courage to light the way, to show us the way, to help us remember. And so we can utilize that as we celebrate this time of the light coming forward, of this new year happening. So I hope you savor the light within you that has come forward and around you, that you've been blessed with in this lifetime thus far. The light that's growing and that will bring you even more blessings than your mind can imagine. And continue to lean into the trust and faith that the light within you is capable of guiding you to live the impossible dream. That's why it's here. And that your soul and your soul's blueprint has brought this forward within you at this time for a reason. So now is your time to celebrate and believe. Believe in you. Believe in yourself. And I'll tell you, I can't wait to hear what comes forward in this next year that's upon us, as you really anchor this in to your heart, the knowingness of your truth, love, and power. So thank you for supporting my dream by listening, by sharing, by liking this episode and this podcast. I truly appreciate it. And in ways that my words can't really say. But this is my dream, and I just appreciate you being a part of it. So I will leave you with the lyrics of The Impossible Dream. But before I do, as always, know that there is nothing to prove, nothing to fix, just to fully remember. So wishing you a happy, happy new year as I share the lyrics to dream the impossible dream. To fight the unbeatable foe, to bear with unbearable sorrow, and to run where the brave dare not go, to right the unrightable wrong, and to love pure and chaste from afar, to try when your arms are too weary, to reach the unreachable star. This is my quest, to follow that star, no matter how hopeless, no matter how far, to fight for the right without question or pause, to be willing to march into hell for that heavenly cause. And I know if I'll only be true to this glorious quest, that my heart will lie peaceful and calm when I'm laid to rest. And the world will be better for this. That one person scorned and covered with scars still strove with their last ounce of courage to reach the unreachable, the unreachable, the unreachable star. And I'll always dream the impossible dream. Yes, and I'll reach the unreachable star. Many blessings to you as you remember this, and you remember that all things are possible as you allow the divine expression that you are to express through you, as you. I'm so blessed that we are connected. I love you. I honor you for your courage. I believe in you and the miracle that you are. So now it's time to go live it. And I'll see you in the next year.
I am so honored you have joined me today. If you enjoyed the I'm Perfectly Divine podcast, subscribe so you don't miss any of our power-filled episodes. Also, if you know another who is strong, sensitive, and spiritual and wants to dive deeper into emotions and ancient wisdom so they too can create profound peace and fulfillment from within, please share this podcast. Thank you again for joining me, and I look forward to reconnecting with you soon.